program. Anyway, before we, well, let's offer a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. And can we all stand? And can I have Dr. Jacob do the blessing on the food and tea?
Well, Lord, we thank you for bringing us here. We ask your blessing on this gathering. Things that are said or on the table, things, remarks that are made. God, we are ever mindful that because you birthed this republic to defend liberty, we pray for its restoration. And we ask you to be with us today in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, when we start the program, the speaking program, you can be seated. We're going to be taping it, and Bill McNally has he hosts a cable TV show, so he'll put it on cable TV. But we also are going to put it on, most likely, if the quality is good. And I'm assuming that since Bill McNally's doing it, it'll be an excellent quality. This stuff you don't have. This stuff's not going to be on the camera, not going to be on the program. But Google Video. Google Video. When you go to your computer, you punch in Google Video on your search, and I mean, I think it's at the very least we should start that. The other ones, or whatever you want to pay for them, but these were covers of the American Opinion magazine, the predecessor to the New American. We had an artist from Maine. I don't know if he's still living. John, is he still living? Daniel Canavan. And he did a lot of landscapes, and he did certain themes, always a lot of patriotic themes. And we would, over the years, we would bring these paintings up to Lake George, where we had a barbecue every year, and we'd sell a lot of them, and what was left were some of the portraits of people. Gee, who is this guy? Who's that guy? And I came across them about last summer, and I said, I think I can put some of these to use. And I had some World War II generals and a World War II buff that was eager to purchase them for a very good reason, because her dad is the editor of the New American magazine, and when we relocated there, she had to go with her dad. She's been a veteran of our camp program as a camper a number of years, and now as a featured instructor, and she's also the JDS's research director, which is quite a position. And she graciously decided to come out just all the way from Appleton just to speak to this group today. So Mary, please come on up and.
Good morning, everyone. Like Hal said, I am actually originally from here. I was born in Concord, so I like to take the opportunity whenever I can to get back here. I absolutely love the East Coast and love the Patriots. And being from Wisconsin, it's kind of a mortal sin to like anyone else other than the Packers. So, can everybody hear me okay back there? Okay, I'll try. I'll talk louder. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you today, or Hal asked me to come and talk to you today about our camp program. In 2005, the Youth Needs Truth Summer Camp program started under the American Opinion Foundation. Now, the camps have been around, though, ever since, I think, 1970 was the first year, out in Washington. And since then, they've been running throughout the country. Sometimes we have 7 now this year. Last year we had 6, and the year before that we had 5. So we are starting to grow in numbers, which is very promising for us. But with it being under the American Opinion Foundation, it is a 501c3, which gives us some added benefits to, rather than having funds come in from individual donors, we're able to go out and actually get funds through different foundations, with the help of some excellent volunteers who are helping us along with the evaluation process and the grant-seeking process. So over the coming years, we'll likely have some huge changes with the organization. Now, like I said, since the camp program's been around for 30 years, we have stuck with some basic core principles. And our mission is simply to teach young people about the constitutional form of government, about the Founding Fathers, their vision for our country, their founding documents, and how we need to adhere to that in today's society. And for those of you who have never attended the camp program, it is an amazing experience. They last for 1 week, and throughout that week, aside from having different recreational activities like swimming or volleyball, wiffle ball championships, like Mr. Shirtlift would, sprained your ankle last time at camp?
Just pull the muscle.
Pull the muscle, but do have lots of fun activities, but we also have classes, various classes on those constitutional principles, on the different forms of government and branches of government. So it really gives people an opportunity to get away for a whole week from all the secular activities that there are, and to really get down and learn these important aspects, and to meet like-minded people. Like Hal said, I've been going to camp since I was 12, and when I was 18, I went as a counselor, and then when I came on staff at the John Birch Society, they had asked me to speak at these camps. And now I am very privileged to, starting the first of the year, I'm going to be working full-time with the American No Opinion Foundation, and I'll be leaving the research department at JVS. So it's really an honor for me to be able to do that, to be able to take this camp program that's been around for so long and to bring it to the next level. Starting also in 2008, we have a lot of new marketing initiatives. We're going to be going to homeschooling conventions and to educational affairs, and just bringing our program to multiple different venues in hopes of gaining more attendance at the camps. Aside from the camps, we do also have an online forum, and as many of you probably know these days, a lot of the young people, rather than meeting in person, everybody's online. So we're actually going out online through different venues such as Facebook or MySpace or these different social networking programs. And we're able to actually talk to a lot of people from across the country who are very interested in our constitutional principles and who have signed up online to meet with people on that online forum and to discuss these different principles. So while the camp program is 1 week long, we are doing these online forums to try to keep them interested and active throughout the rest of the year. For me, I think that the biggest reason why we need to have these camps is because so many people are not aware of the basic founding principles of our government. People don't even know that this is a republic. People don't know the vision the founding fathers have, and if you don't know that, it's hard to protect that or to see when it's being threatened. And just as an example, I brought along this report, which was released in September, called "Failing Our Students, Failing America," and it was released in September by the Intercollegiate Studies Institute. And in here, they interviewed several thousand students in college universities. And of the 7,000 seniors that took a test on American civic literacy, the average score is 54%. So as the title of this suggests, we are failing our students because people just do not know these basic teachings of Americanism. And so that is what we are doing at these summer camps, is providing a fun and safe environment for these students to learn, in hopes that they will grow up with this knowledge, that they can influence other people in their schools and in their communities, and as they grow up, they'll be able to be informed voters and informed business people in their communities. For me, again, the summer camp program is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I was fortunate enough to be able to go every year. Some people, they're only able to go once or twice, and I wanted to share with you a few testimonials from some people who had gone to our camp program. And just so that you can see the influence that a week at camp makes for some of these young people. Christina, who was a camper in Texas this year, she said, "Before I went to camp, I didn't care about anything going on in the world around me because I thought it was boring and that it would all work out anyway. I went to camp and made some of the best friends I ever had and got very interested in the world of politics, history, and the Constitution. I think that I would be a different person if I had not gone to camp." I think that's an excellent testimonial because it shows exactly the issue that we're facing. People come to the program not knowing very much of the issues that we talk about and that we teach, and they leave with this renewed sense of appreciation in our founding fathers and in government, and they actually have this interest to learn more. So Christina is an online participant in our discussion forums for Youth Meets Truth, and she has been able to talk some other friends into coming with her to Texas next year, which is wonderful, and that's exactly what we want to see happen coming out of these camps, is for them to be able to convince their friends and their family to be able to come, and for us to have that impact on someone is a pretty amazing thing. Another testimonial from a young lady named Sarah Sankovich. She went to camp in 2004 and 2005. Sarah, actually, she lives right by me now. She goes to Lawrence University in Wisconsin. And when she went to camp, first of all, I should say she didn't really want to go. Her parents kind of, I think, forced her into it, from what I understand. And she left that camp with just this whole new sense of appreciation for our country and for all the different things that we're doing and that the John Birch Society is doing. And Sarah said, in the relatively short space of 1 week, I was exposed to more information than I would have thought possible. It amazed me that I had been so ignorant of so many vitally important things and not even know it. If the least thing that camp had done for me was to demonstrate how little I know, that alone was worth attending. I often forget just how much I don't know. But when an incredible wealth of knowledge was offered at camp, I learned not just about America's history, but also about how I can help shape its future. And again, that's just an excellent testimonial, because it shows exactly what our primary mission is, and that is to bring these young people up with this sense of knowledge in American principles and American government, because the people that are attending our camp program, several years from now, they're going to be our council members, they're going to be our local business owners, they're going to be on our local elected officials. And so it is important for us now to be able to teach them these principles so that they can grow up and become the informed voters that we would like to see. So that's the essence of what our camp program does. And again, we're looking at some exciting new things coming over the next couple of years with our new marketing initiatives. We're looking at updating our camp curriculum. We're going to try to make it a little bit more interactive with the students there. We've gotten several different feedback from various instructors and teachers and campers over the years, and so we're taking a pretty close look at that. And the other thing that I should say about our program is that it thrives on volunteerism. If it wasn't for the volunteers that help out every year, AOF, Youth Meets Truth, it would not exist. We have volunteer campers, or volunteer speakers, we have volunteer staff, counselors, and these people come and they dedicate a week of their lives to come and help impact young people that attend our camp program. So it's really just a phenomenal thing, and now with getting into our new initiatives for grant seeking and donations, we're really looking at expanding the program to an even greater level. And I'm really, like I said, looking forward to working with AOF on a full-time basis starting the first of the year, and to be able to go to these camps this year and to hopefully impact an even greater number of people. And I again want to thank Hal Shirtliff for inviting me here today. It's been a great experience and nice meeting you all, and that's all I have for today.
Yeah, in the room are some counselors or former counselors, and one of them is right in front of me, Ed Sargent. Ed was a counselor for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years in a row, and longtime member, and I think it was his first camp. He looked at me and said, "How come you've been hiding this from me all these years?" He had such a great time. We were involved in a 3-legged race, Ed and I, against some of the campers, and we came in first place. And what humbled the campers is, I said, our combined ages is over 100 years, you know. So they got getting in shape. I've been involved in the summer camp program since 19 1990, I should say privileged and honored, and I now serve as the camp director of the Northeast Camp. Our camp next year, which will be July 6th, that's when it begins, that's a Sunday, at Judeo-Christian Christian Retreat Center in Ringe, New Hampshire, where we had it this year. We've had it, we did skip a few years. We were in Pennsylvania for about 4 camps. And we'd like to keep it in New England. And one way to keep it in New England is to make sure it's well staffed and plenty of campers and young people. So please start thinking about getting grandchildren, your neighbors, your children, or what have you to this camp. And if you haven't experienced a week at camp, I really encourage it. I think it's clear your calendar out. It's well worth it. It's a great experience. This year we were really top-heavy with staff, and I wanted it that way because I wanted to allow the staffers to see what we do at this camp. We had 20-plus staff people, and they got a great experience. So I'm hoping that we'll have a really nice turnout. And we take trips to, we take some field trips. We went to the Concord Bridge and the Lexington Battle Green, a hike up Mount Monadnock. I can even say that now. I'll pronounce it right. And it's great to be able to take some people on a tour who've never been to Concord. You know, we're just a few miles away. You know, it's right down the street from us. But you find some Patriots who've never been here before. It's quite a great experience. So please participate. Please help out the program at the very least by buying some of these paintings and some of these other things that I don't want to bring home with me. Okay. All right. Very good. Also, well, let me introduce our next speaker. It was supposed to be Diane Gilbert. Diane Gilbert is I think her title is Director of the New Hampshire Center for Constitutional Studies, and every year they have this great program which they celebrate the Constitution in September, and it's usually held in somewhere in New Hampshire, Nashua or Concord or wherever. And in fact, that's where I met Dr. Jaley, our featured speaker. And Diane was supposed to be here, but there was an illness in the family, so she sent a couple of her associates. One of them is a very close friend of mine. I say close because he lives about a mile from me. But I've known Leo since, I don't know, the mid-90s when I was putting stuff in his windshield and he saw a video on cable TV and he ended up joining the John Birch Society, and I think I remember taking him up to this dinner, and it was almost like he died and went to heaven. He sees the constitutionals. He met a state rep from New Hampshire that was a machine gun shooter, and he thought, what? This hasn't happened in Massachusetts, you know? So Leo's going to come up, and also Ramil Winters, and in fact, they're going to talk about the great work that they do. Leo, and come on up. And by the way, please make sure you take the calendar from this organization as well.
We're on top of the podium, Leo.
Good afternoon.
Morning.
Good morning. Sorry. Before we start, I have some data here that on our organization that I'd like to give to you so that you can follow along. If you'd bear with me just a second. And I'm going to pass these out. Does everyone have one now? Everyone has one?
Yeah.
Okay. First off, I'd like to say that the New Hampshire Center for Constitutional Studies has recently changed its name to the National Heritage Center for Constitutional Studies. As a group, we are connected with, we have representatives in about 7 states. New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Michigan, North Carolina, Virginia, and even a non-voting member in Florida who does outreach stuff. We include in our constitutional studies, the National Heritage Center for Constitutional Studies was founded in January 1997. We are a 501c3 educational nonprofit, totally volunteer, non-government funded, non-partisan, no membership, and we have 10 members in the 7 states that I had recently mentioned. Our work includes seminars and workshops that are on the constitutional government, and when called upon, we work with private and Christian schools such as the Good Shepherd School in Burlington, New Hampshire, the Abundant Life in Wilmington, Massachusetts, and we do seminars for homeschools, conventions, junior high schools, private schools, and generally our seminars run about 2.5 hours. They include a walk through the Constitution and also political and citizenship groups. The training we offer includes the Roots for American Freedom course developed by the NHCCS, and it is an 18-hour walk through the United States Constitution, and it's built upon American organic law. Now, if you don't know what American organic law is, it starts with the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, the Northwest Ordinance, and the United States Constitution. Our training is based upon the Madison's Notes on the Constitution, the Federalist and Anti-Federalist Papers, Chief Justice Story's Exposition on the Constitution, and more recent works by Dr. Cleon Skousen. We offer a course called The Making of America. It's an 8-hour course on American founding and Constitution by Dr. Cleon Skousen. And we also have 8-hour seminars and workshops on constitutional government. And what we do is we stress on the use of primary source materials. The NHCCS follows a policy of strict construction. And as James Madison said, the Constitution speaks for itself. The Constitution is as the Constitution says. So whatever you read in the document, it was meant for the general public at the time, simple people, so that they can understand it. Legitimate meaning of the Constitution must be derived from the text itself, and that's according to James Madison. You come down to where it says a more perfect union. In contrast, this is what the American youth is taught today. The Constitution is not a rigid document. Because of imprecise language in some sections, it is open to interpretation. Most historians feel that this is more of a strength than a weakness. A level of interpretation is ensured, while another level can be interpreted by successive generations, by unofficial change. Method, meaning, the Supreme Court interpretation, which differs sometimes depending upon the view of these justices. That is not what we teach. What we teach is strict construction based upon the teachings and the writings of our founding fathers.
I think it would be interesting to see a living 10 Commandments and wonder what that would look like.
You know, it's,
Or even a living rules of baseball, if you don't want to get religious. You know, I taught the Constitution for many years in high school, and I didn't know personally anything about the Articles of Confederation and how it blended in with the Constitution. I had never read the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers, until I got into college. And I try to give this to my students, and they were very amazed by all of this. It's not what they had heard on television or on the radio or read in the newspapers. Those are the those are the ones who could read the newspapers. It wasn't all of them, believe me.
Okay, so now we can say, who is right? James Madison, the chief architect of the Constitution, would agree with our approach, the NHCCS's approach. It was the duty of all to support the Constitution in its true meaning, as understood by the nation of its time, at the time of its ratification. If you need to know what the Constitution means, go back to the original writings. Read what the Founding Fathers said at the time they said it. That's the way to understand the Constitution, not the way it's being taught today in the schools. The Founders wrote it down, and the proof is in the pudding. Washington wrote 97 volumes on the Constitution, his feelings and his thoughts on it. Madison, 18 volumes. Jefferson, 60. Franklin, 40. John Adams, 33. Alexander Hamilton, 60. And John Quincy Adams, 23. It's over 300 volumes on what the Constitution meant and what their writings meant.
You know, at the time the Constitution was written and the Federalist Papers came out, they printed about 900,000 copies of the Federalist Papers, and there were only about 1 million people in the country. So that goes to show the vast majority of people read the Federalist Papers, were able to read them. I understand the farmers carried a copy of it out into the fields, and when they had their lunch hour, they would stop and read. So this is something our children are not getting in school. I think they go through the Constitution in high schools maybe in about 2 weeks. I always spent about 4 months, and I was always then way behind. But we need to know more about it, and our young people need to know more because they're being indoctrinated by what they see on television and what they hear, even on the Fair and Balanced network.
But when you consider it all, with all these writings, there's no need for the ignorance that exists today. None at all. Because they're out there. It's deliberately not being taught to us. The National Heritage Center for Constitutional Studies has a mission statement. And our mission statement is that we are dedicated to the teachings and principles of liberty, union, and the tradition of our nation's founding fathers. And liberty and union, by that we mean that they had to give up some of their authority to government in order to have a higher protection of the more precious rights, such as the freedom of conscience. Today, these rights are being destroyed because the people are ignorant of their rights and the role of government. Government rights can be found in the Article 1, Section 8, Article 2, which is on the executive, and Article 3, which is upon the judiciary. So, with that, I would say this, that if you are interested in our organization, if you'd like to find out more about us, you can call the NHCCS website at www.nhccs.org. On the back you have our telephone number, our fax, and our email. And we're located in Raymond, New Hampshire. Our address is P.O. Box 96. Now, we also publish a quarterly newspaper called Original Intent, and we have some over there. They're free. And we have a 2008 calendars over there for you, which you can take, and it has various excerpts of the U.S. Constitution on it.
Did anyone see O'Reilly last night? He was talking to an atheist, and they were discussing, primarily they started out with Mitt Romney's statement, and then she kept telling O'Reilly, when he talked about the Declaration of Independence, that's not part of our law of our land. That's the Constitution is. The Founding Fathers deliberately kept God out of the Constitution because this is a secular society. This man did not know how to answer it, and he had been a history teacher in high school.
You mean O'Reilly?
I was very disappointed in his responses.
Shandy.
Yes, the Declaration of Independence is not part of this country. It was very unfortunate that someone in his position doesn't know the truth. He needs to come to one of our seminars. What's his name?
My wife's maiden name is O'Reilly.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
People are emigrating to Ireland. Good job, Widow. Somehow they discovered. Who's the machine gun? Huh? Who's the machine gun?
Last September, I was in Ohio, and I was helping to man a table at a fair booth. And as I usually do, I like to sort of mill around and meet some of the other vendors and promote what we're doing. We were, of course, focusing on repealing NAFTA and other issues. I stopped by the table, the Democrat Party table that was in one of the tents. And there was a lady that was behind the table, and I introduced myself, and sometimes you get a little like, oh, okay, a little uncomfortable. And I said, what's your position on NAFTA? And she said, well, she wasn't sure, which is usually what you get when you visit the people that are supposed to know stuff behind these tables. We started talking about the Constitution, and she said, it's a living and breathing document. We've all heard that before. And she said, the Constitution isn't that thing that you call, I have one of these in my hand. She said, it's at the University of Ohio, there's papers and studies and articles. That's the Constitution. She said, but this is living and breathing. And she said, whatever the judges determine it is at that given time is what the Constitution is. So I said, so we have no Constitution. I said, we're really a black robe dictatorship. Oh, I didn't say that. She kept on saying living and breathing. So I came back there. Sometimes you come up with these lines a little bit later. So I came back and I said, you know something? I got a stethoscope to this Constitution, and I didn't hear anything. The pulse is not here, it's here, in the hearts of the American people. That's where it's living and breathing, not in some, in the actual written word here. John McManus, I just want to very quickly, before I introduce our feature speaker, John McManus wants to talk about a special birthday party today. He'll just take a few minutes. John McManus?
I know some of you do it already, but if you don't, tune into jbs.org every day on your internet, and you'll get news feeds from the John Birch Society on the events of the day, what's happening, commentaries on whatever's going on. Well, today happens to be the anniversary, the 49th anniversary of the meeting that led to the formation of the John Birch Society. So today is a happy birthday to the John Birch Society. So the news feed that appears today on the John Birch Society's website is on that subject. And I'm going to just read to you the commentary. Well, first of all, we synopsize all the articles at the beginning. In the beginning, I said the John Birch Society was launched at a two-day meeting in Indianapolis on December 8 and 9, 1958. Opponents immediately discovered the Society's potential and created a withering smear campaign to keep Americans from joining. Some enemies said the Society wouldn't last 10 years. Now, at 49, the Society is alive and well and going strong, and those who said it would not last 10 years are in the grave. So the commentary. In addition to holding down a post as vice president of a nationwide candy company, Robert Welch was a historian, philosopher, author, and intense lover of America. Deeply concerned about the triple threats of communism, collectivism, and abandonment of moral principles, he gathered a small group of like-minded friends in Indianapolis on December 8, 1958. After speaking to them for 2 full days, and I'm not going to do that, he proposed the formation of the John Birch Society and delightedly welcomed several as the organization's first members. At the end of the 17 hours, by the way, a man named Ben McMillan from St. Louis handed over a check to Robert Welch and said, "Bob, I guess we're in business." So he always claimed to be the first member of the society. Known widely for its unbending anti-communism, the society has always been opposed to all forms of totalitarianism: communism, socialism, Nazism, fascism, etc. More than what it set out to oppose, Birchers have always been champions of limited government. How limited? precisely as mandated in the U.S. Constitution. Society leaders claim that if the Constitution were fully enforced, the federal government would be 20% its current size and 20% its current cost. By establishing groups of citizens in the cities and towns of America, the society sought to overcome the grip on the people's thinking held by what it terms the deficient mass media. The belief has always been that small, well-informed, and active community leaders who were possessors of solid information and perspective could capably circumvent the liberal and revolutionary attitudes constantly being given the public by the media and venal politicians. The Society's steady stream of books, magazines, pamphlets, films, and speakers began to have impact almost immediately. Several of its Wake the Town and Tell the People campaigns brought it to the attention of those who wanted more government, more cooperation with communist leaders, and more submission to world opinion and the United Nations. Rather than respond to the Society's carefully assembled information, these enemies orchestrated a withering smear campaign. The Society, the American people were told, was an anti-American hate group with no difference from communists, Nazis, anti-Semites, and racists. None of those charges could be backed up, and the Society's black and Jewish members worked tirelessly to counter the smears. But the anti-Birch campaign was so intense that some Americans are still influenced by what was said erroneously about the Society 40 years ago. Early Birch Society campaigns called for the U.S. withdrawal from the United Nations, exposure of domestic communist hands behind those who promoted and engaged in violence during the Civil Rights Movement, and awareness about the difference between the republic, rule of law established by the Founding Fathers, and a democracy ruled by the mob that had ushered in the downfall of ancient civilizations and empires. When the Society was only a few years old, some of its political and media enemies confidently predicted it would never survive to see its 10th anniversary. How wrong they were. Plans are now being drawn to celebrate the organization's 50th anniversary in the fall of 2008. Currently, the Society has initiated a campaign to alert fellow Americans about the plan to dissolve national sovereignty and create the North American Union. Numerous state legislatures have responded to Birch Society-produced information with resolutions opposing such a move. Political candidates and office holders are inundated with information about this attack on national independence, and Society members are busily distributing information calling for opposition to big government schemes, federal indebtedness, entangling alliances, and moral decadence. As they celebrate 49 years of effort on behalf of personal freedom and national independence, the organization's leaders delight in noting a new upsurge in the public's interest, new member growth, and numerous other successes, small and large. They claim that the public is catching on to their motto, less government, more responsibility, and with God's help, a better world. So that's on the internet. It would make a lovely letter to the editor if you feel like doing it. Thank you.
I had my, here it is, my official introduction. Anyway, I first met Dr. Jaley at the New Hampshire Center for Constitutional Studies up in New Hampshire, one of their gatherings, where I was delighted to learn about this wonderful Christian man in Plymouth, Massachusetts, doing this great work. And it's every now and then I'll run into somebody in the Midwest or another part of the country, and they'll say, "You're from Boston. Do you know this guy down in Plymouth by the name of Jaley? I don't know how to spell it." And I had to figure out, it took me a while before I figured how to spell it properly. And I said, yeah, talk about the great work that he does down there. So, and sometimes his students will come to these functions. The last function they had in September, they had a young lady who was first generation Portuguese. I bought a car from her uncle when I first came on staff, so I know it was a good car too. And just so impressed by the caliber of young people coming out of this school. Anyway, let me read the online version of the introduction here. Dr. Paul Jaley is a senior pastor of the New Testament Church of Cedarville in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And by the way, every now and then I get a call from people relocating to the South Shore. Where can I find a good church? And I immediately give them the phone number of this church. Principal of the New Testament Christian School, founder of Heritage Institute Ministries, and education director for the Plymouth Rock Foundation. Dr. Gili has traveled throughout the United States and in Canada, Latin America, and Africa, declaring biblical principles as they relate to church leadership and government, Christian education, youth ministry, and political statesmanship. He is the author of over 7 books, including the groundbreaking comprehensive book on Christian education by the title of Go Ye Therefore and Teach All Nations, also published by the Plymouth Rock Foundation. The newest edition is ready to go, and I'll just leave it at that. But let's give a very warm hand. And by the way, his talk is going to be America's Christian Heritage. Let's give a very nice hand.